Well, howdy, folks. Boy, oh boy, do we have a treat for you today. As you can tell, we're at a higher elevation than normal based on the view of the Las Vegas Valley behind me. So where are we? You guessed it. We're on Black Mountain. Now, folks, before we dive into all that is Black Mountain, I need to tell you that the radio and TV tower area here is private property, and you can only be here with special permission. In fact, the road we came up on has several gates to prevent unauthorized visits. Please respect these gates and don't trespass. Oh, and speaking of the road up, check out this crazy drive. Now, I didn't tape the drive up, only the drive down, but I'll just play it backwards so you can get a feel for what driving up looked like. Gee whiz, it's one narrow road, and pretty severe drops on either side. Some parts were even like being on a roller coaster. Whoa, oh, where's my inhaler? So let's talk a little bit more about the gates before we explore Black Mountain. As you can see, trespassing is not only strictly prohibited, it's also dangerous, as some areas up there emit very high levels of microwaves, which can be hazardous to your health. And we'll learn about that shortly. So if you want to see the Black Mountain radio towers, do it from a safe distance like the base of the mountain, or just watch this episode of the show. It's for your own safety. Okay then, so let's get to exploring Black Mountain, and in order to do so, we've met up with our site escort and tour guide, Tracy Teagarden, Chief Engineer at Audacy, Las Vegas. Hey Tracy, how are you doing? I'm Chip.
Nice to meet you, Chip.
Nice to meet you. So, tell us all about Black Mountain.
Black Mountain was originally developed in 1965 for Channel 10 to move up here when they got their license. The radio stations started moving up in the early 70s. At this point, there's about 1,000,003 watts of FM and about 7 million watts of TV up here.
Wow, that's a lot of broadcasting power. So is that what makes this the most desired location for broadcasting?
This is by far the highest density of radio stations in Las Vegas, yes.
Now, we just told our viewers a little bit about the gates on the road up and why it's important to pay attention to the hazard signs. Can you tell us more about those hazards, Tracy?
Well, humans, animals, anything with a spine, basically can be affected by electromagnetic fields, and there are spots on this mountain that are far, far beyond the incidental exposure limit that ANSI has set for human exposure. And you have to know where those spots are and where you can stand and where you can't, because it heats you up in exactly the same way a microwave heats up your food.
Wow.
And the softer tissues, your brain, your eyeballs, your bits that are important to you get heated faster than the rest of your body, and it can cause you quite damage.
Well, all right, so we'll be avoiding those spots for sure. And when we pulled in,
Tracy showed us a couple spots that are marked by posts with bright orange tops indicating areas you must keep out of to avoid exposure to radiation from high RF microwaves. You bet I'm staying out of there. I mean, I saw gremlins. So as you can see, it's absolutely critical that you keep away from the radio towers here on Black Mountain unless you have an official escort who knows the area as Chief Engineer Tracy here does. And he knows it better than anyone, which is the only reason we were able to visit today. But before we take our tour, how about we take a quick look at how radio and TV works first? Roll it! Well, hey kids, is everybody ready to be blinded with some science? Alrighty then, let's get cooking! Our question today comes all the way from our favorite green metal mushroom, Foundation. From an inquisitive young man, Davey Taylor. Take it away, Davey!
Thanks, Professor Skunk.
Monk.
How does the awesome music my square parents don't want me listening to get to my radio?
Great question, Daffy! The sound you hear from your radio starts with us humans. When we talk or sing or play music, we create sound waves. Mr. Microphone then takes those sound waves and turns them into electrical signals with a little microphone magic. Well, it's not actually magic, but it's way too complicated to explain in the 30 seconds I have left. You know what happens to the electrical signals then?
They travel through the air via microwaves to transmitters.
Well, that's right. Golly, you sure are smart, Davy.
Now somebody has to be Professor Junk.
Wow. Just wow. Anyway, the electrical signals then travel to transmitters, those metal tower things you see all over, usually on tall buildings or mountaintops. I guess not so much on tall buildings anymore.
And those aren't actually transmitters, those are antennas. The transmitters are typically sophisticated hardware inside the buildings below the antenna.
Right! And then those transmitters boost the signal and send it back to your radio, which takes the signal and converts it to the wonderful voices and music you love listening to. TV pretty much works the same way.
No, it doesn't.
Shut up!
You shut up!
Loser Raider wannabe!
Tadpole rank mega nerd!
Oh yeah? I'll tell you who's a nerd! Guys who sit around making ham radios and listening to heavy metal by Christopher Lee! Science!
That's my radio! What a douche!
Okay, well, Tracy, take it away.
Okay. This is building 4 where most of the FMs are clustered. That's channel 5, channel 10, and channel 3 up there. Channel 21 down here. There's more FMs and KBLR 3.2 megawatt UHF station, million watt UHF station. And there's a cell site that doesn't really belong here, but that's not my problem. Then building 4 is where my stations are. I have KLUC, KMXB, and KXQQ up here, 300 kilowatt FMs.
And that's Audacy Las Vegas?
Yep.
So folks, that building right there you might recognize as the place where you'll find Raul Tejada hiding out. An exact in-game location, one of the many we're about to see here on Black Mountain. An absolutely amazing sight. So let's check it out. So up the hill there, where the local TV stations are, you'll see the buildings that most resemble where our favorite nightkin Tabitha broadcasts from. So if you'll notice, that building there is a second level, where most of them don't. That's very likely the one that inspired Tabitha's studio in the game. No matter where you walk around up here, you're treated to the most spectacular views of the Las Vegas Valley, bar none. From here, you can spy all the in-game locations. Looking to the west, you'll see the I-15 freeway and spot Mountain Pass, less the giant NCR statue. Just below that, you'll see the Avampah Dry Lake Bed and Prim. Continuing east, you'll see the metropolitan Las Vegas area and the Strip. Most notably, and just like in the game, you'll see the Lucky 38, or in the real world, the Stratosphere. Continuing eastward, you'll be able to spot Old Town, or what we Wastelanders know as Freeside. Not that I know anything about it. No siree, never been there. No sir. So moving along, you'll see Frenchman and Sunrise Mountains, which is where Nellis Air Force Base is. Check out episode 18 to learn all about that. And over there, you can get a view of Boulder City and Lake Mead. Simply awesome.
Prim formally sworn in as sheriff today. RNV reporters were on hand to hear the news.
Now Tracy explained to us that radio works by line of sight, which means as long as you can see these antennas from below, you'll get signal, making this narrow peak on Black Mountain the ideal line of sight location for a huge radius of land below. The in-game antenna towers look exactly like their real-world counterparts and are pretty much in the same locations. The big white satellite dishes aren't here, but due north in Bishop, California, you can find some belonging to Caltech and are known as the Owens Valley Radio Observatory. Behind me here is Building 5, which in the game is the location Raul's been locked away in by Tabitha. Now we can't take you inside that one, but I'm guessing it's a little more tidy and doesn't exactly reflect Tabitha's distinctive decorating styles. So what do you say? Let's go find Raul and let him out of there. Okay, radiation warnings. We know what those signs mean. Let's see what the old Pip-Boy has to say. Okay, so let's be moving on. As you walk around, you can't help but to notice all the cabling running from building to building, as well as the support structures holding it all up. It's all wonderfully retro-industrial looking, and most certainly helped inspire the artists and game designers to recreate what they saw here and give the Black Mountain game site the same industrial look and feel. So follow me back here for an even more awesome in-game view. Whoa! Now that's quite a drop, and this is as close to that edge as I'm getting. But notice how much of an exact match to the in-game location behind Tabitha's studio this is. Over there you can see some of those larger dish antennas and the typical fencing, metal stairs, and platforms found back here in the Black Mountain location in the game. Then there's this awesome view of Henderson below. Hey! I can see Jaxus's house from here! Hey, Jaxus! So let's go inside and meet up with Tracy and see how these transmitter rooms compare with the in-game versions. Oh, hey, Tracy. So this is where the radio and TV magic happens, huh?
Yep, we're in the building with primarily FMs, a few small TVs. That's KKLZ, KXQQ 100.5, KMXB 94.1 on the other side of it. KSNE 106.5 over there, 103.5, 98.5 down there.
So it's a lot cleaner in here and certainly better lit. But check out how accurate the room and equipment is to the transmitter rooms in the game. Simply amazing. So Tracy, this area down here, is this mainly where the local TV signals are transmitted from?
Okay, that's cell site, T-Mobile cell site. A couple of small TV stations, KISF 103.5, KLUC is on the other side of it, the big dog. All of these.
So from this room, all those stations are broadcasting their programs right
Yes.
at this very moment? Amazing! So all those signals are being sent to the antennas outside
Correct.
and then to the various stations? And the only way that would work is to have them up here on Black Mountain? Why is that?
Well, FM and TV, VHF and UHF are line of sight. So wherever you are, if you have a view of the antenna, you can receive it. So the higher we get, the only thing that beats us is the curvature of the Earth. So this is a convenient place to do those things from.
So Tracy, were the antennas and transmitters for all these stations up here since broadcasting started?
Most of the stations were down in the valley on towers, because you gotta remember, in the mid-70s, the population of Las Vegas was 45,000 people, so they didn't need to cover a huge area. But then as the population started expanding and growing, we started moving to the mountain.
And that's really interesting to me, because that very subject, the impact of the growing population, that's a reoccurring theme in our episodes. Whether it was the westward expansion in the 19th century, or the legalization of gambling and the craze that followed, or the arrival of the nuclear era in the wake of the nuclear testing in the 50s. Well, now Black Mountain fits right in with everything else. Well, Tracy, we can't thank you enough for taking the time and being our escort and guide and inviting us up here to this fascinating location. And I personally learned a lot about radio and how it works. And that's part of what we try and do on this show, to give real-world context to the game locations and to really celebrate what the game designers and the artists researched. So I, for one, can't thank you enough, and it's been a real pleasure to meet you.
That's fascinating, and it's my pleasure.
So there you have it, folks. Broadcasting from Black Mountain, it's the Chipmunk Show. I always wanted to say that.
See that lone star from 1,000 miles away, calling me back home, though I ventured far astray. When I see that beacon shining for me all alone, it calls me back to Texas and to home.
What a douche!